So without further ado, we're going to move on to our first speaker of the day. I'd like to introduce Daniel Rice and Cameron Sanders. They are the current president of the Wildlife Society chapter at CSU and the former president of the Wildlife Society chapter at CSU. Both are excellent individuals, passionate about what they do, and I can't wait for them to share the great organization that they've been running here at CSU that has been helpful in putting this on, and frankly wouldn't be here without you guys. So appreciate you. You guys have the floor, and let me get your work together.
Sweet. Thanks for the intro, Hunter. So as Hunter said, I'm Cameron Sanders. I'm the current president of the student chapter of the Wildlife Society here on campus. Just assumed that position a couple months ago from Daniel. So basically what the Wildlife Society is, it's a national organization of wildlife biologists from around the country, and they basically do what COPARC does. They come together at a variety of conferences in different ways to brainstorm of how to best conserve wildlife for future generations. And so they have a bunch of different sections across the country. We are in the Central Mountains and Plains section. Then there's the Colorado State section, and then there are student chapters at different universities, and we are the CSU student chapter. This is our mission, to inspire, empower, and enable wildlife professionals to sustain wildlife populations and habitats through science-based management and conservation. Yeah. It's like zooming through. I'm like, I gotta read fast. Gotta get to the mission statement. Yeah, basically for students, because we are a student organization. So Daniel, if you want to talk a little bit more about our exec board?
Totally. And just to kind of add on to that a little bit more, the Wildlife Society has over 12,000 registered members now. If you add a lot of the students that are a part of our student chapters, that goes up to 14,000. So it's this massive international group of people that are just as enthused about wildlife and habitat management as you all are. But we have a great team this year. This is our brand new team. Again, I'm kind of moving off of it, which is kind of hard to see. But we've got a great team of undergraduates from all kinds of different majors. And again, this thing is speeding up for us. But yeah, it's a great team that we use to do everything that we do, ranging from all kinds of different projects and things like that. So, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. So we do a lot of events with the student chapter, but our two main ones that we do throughout the year, every semester, is this, raptor monitoring at Boyd Lake State Park. So basically, at Boyd Lake we have 5 different sections that we go through and monitor the different raptor species there. There's also a kestrel nest that we are monitoring to make sure that they're healthy and doing well. And that data is then given to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. So it's a great way for students to get some very basic volunteering experience with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. They hire a lot of university students for various positions. So it's a great way to get students kind of engaged and get that experience. We also do the camera trap project. So camera traps, or trail cameras, however you want to say them, they're obviously very important in the wildlife field, and we have about a dozen sites around Fort Collins at various natural areas. And basically we just monitor urban wildlife populations. We have partnered with the Lincoln Park Zoo's Urban Wildlife Information Database. It's basically a giant database that has hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of photos of wildlife in urban areas. And basically if researchers want to pull from that database and get data for their own research, they can, and we have provided data for a couple studies. Main one is COVID-19 in deer. We get a lot of deer on our cameras, so that was definitely some great data for those researchers. We've gotten some really cool animals too, bobcats, mountain lions, deer, turkey, you name it, we've probably seen it. And then we also do a lot of educational outreach. Rihanna Zinn, who was our old educational outreach leaders in this room, and we basically have gone around to different schools. I think we've done stuff with the Environmental Learning Center, and it's also a great way to engage with younger generations and get them excited about wildlife as well.
And minor shout out to your junior and co-chair there in those pictures as well. You should talk about this too.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we've also been able to get involved in the Wintermeyer Lab Deer Project. We began volunteering about this time last year on the project. Basically, there's a PhD student in the Wintermeyer Lab, his name is Jeremy Alder. He's studying COVID-19, chronic wasting disease, blue tongue virus, and epizootic hemorrhagic disease in mule deer and white-tailed deer in Bellevue, and then out in Greeley. There's 2 sites. Basically, they set up traps and they get the deer in the traps, and then you basically put on a giant thick pair of overalls called a bib and a like a hockey mask or like a umpire mask, and tackle them to the ground. and then inject them with a sedative. And then once they are knocked out, you put a collar on them and do all these various measurements like weight, chest circumference, hoof talk, foot length, and then we also test for all these diseases. So it was a really cool opportunity for us to be able to volunteer with. I actually was able to get a technician position with this project. That's me with the mule deer buck there. I was on all like the proper protocol, don't worry. But as far as like the rest of the students in the chapter, this is a great way for them to get some experience, like, you know, more hands-on with this really interesting project.
Yeah, and we also do a lot of other things to just kind of get some more. Let me see if this will. Okay, that should be right there. We do a lot of hands-on things to get people more involved. Some of these things are a little bit more temporary, kind of like this last thing we did in September to go take some students out to duck band in Walden, Colorado, around the Arapahoe National Wildlife Refuge. But we do a lot of just great events that we're talking about to give people hands-on experiences that they might not get fully from classes. We also have this brand new trip that, again, Remy kind of spearheaded this last year, but we have a brand new trip with the Forest Service where we take students out and they're in the field and on a national forest, and they get the whole breadth of everybody that works on that district, everything from soil to fire. We hit the wildlife and the fish, of course, and then we talk to the ranger, get some resume help. And it's just a really in-depth way for a lot of our brand new students, especially targeted towards underclassmen, to get out and realize that the Forest Service is a place you can work for. It's a place you can volunteer for. You can get there as a technician, you can get there as a biologist, and you can go as far as you want. We also have this really cool trip that we do every year in Rocky. We made it an overnight trip this last 2 years, and it's been awesome so far. But just taking people up to see the elk rut, it's a little bit more of a less of a commitment than some of our other things are that are super wildlife heavy, but we get out there and it's a ton of fun. But as Cameron will talk about, we also have some conferences that we go through.
Yeah, so last year, like COPARC, we have conferences with the Wildlife Society as well. So last year, the Colorado and Utah chapter met in Grand Junction. It was basically just a large collection of wildlife biologists presenting their research from Colorado Parks and Wildlife and a bunch of different universities. There is one coming up like in the next few days, yeah, next week. It's in Pueblo, Colorado, and it is the next annual Colorado State Chapter meeting in 2024, and we have some members going on that as well, which we are really pumped for. But yeah, it's a great way to meet other student chapters and to connect with biologists in the field.
And our largest venture that we recently were able to hop onto after COVID died down is the national conference. This is something that thousands of people go to. I think there are about 2,000 people this year, with about 40% made up of students. But this is something that we've finally been able to get back into, and we took about, I think it was like 9-ish students there. But again, it's just a massive research conference, like kind of like what you all are doing here, kind of like what we're going to go to next week, but on an international scale with all the chapters of the Wildlife Society. I'm sure some of you have probably been to this before, but yeah, it was just amazing to get back into it. And this next year, we're hoping to have some students present new research at it. But it's an unparalleled opportunity to get students out there, to get them to meet anybody they want who's working in the wildlife field, working on habitat restoration, working on research, as well as people that are just as enthused with wildlife, even though they might not be professionals in it.
So to kind of wrap up, last semester we had our annual bighorn sheep count in the Pooh Canyon. So basically every December we go out and count bighorn sheep in the canyon. It's sectioned off into different sections, and different groups are assigned different sections. You basically go out, count sheep, and you classify them as rams, like the classification of like rams based on the horn curl, ewes, lambs, and it's basically to get population demographics data for Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And again, like raptor monitoring is a good way for students to get out, volunteer, and get some experience. It's really fun. It's also really cool.
Yeah, so if you'd like to know anything more about what we do, here's some ways that you can reach out to us and learn about what we do. That QR code goes to an email list, so if you're a student here and you haven't been with us before, gosh, this is really going through all of it, isn't it? Let me see if I can get all the way back to the end there. But on this slide will be some contact information if that's something that you are interested in learning more about. Okay, it's not going to fight with me. We'll just do this manually. Sorry about that, guys. But we have bi-weekly meetings. This is...
You keep talking.
Case you missed
Okay,
it.
yeah. All right, okay, actually, if we go down to the...
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay, we'll go from that. Sorry, I think this is just on a loop.
I think,
Yeah. But there's some contact information there. We're looking to partner a lot more with COPARC in the coming years and get some more herp-related things into what we do. I know it's a little bit harder since we're a student chapter and our school year doesn't necessarily align with Colorado's herp season, but that's something that we're looking to do a lot more of, and luckily we have people like Hayden, we have people like Remy and Hunter that we can reach out to who are tied to CSU and who are currently members of our Wildlife Society or past members. So thank you all for hosting us, or for being here to listen to us, and we're really happy to be able to kind of co-host this meeting. So.
Thank you.